sixth graders. So in our last couple lessons, we've been looking at comparing decimals and percents and fractions and percentages and seeing how to convert them from one to the other. Today what we're going to do is we're going to use that knowledge that we've gained over the last 2 days and apply it to putting percents, decimals, and fractions either in order or being able to compare them when you have two different things. So let's start with an example. The question will be something like, which is greater? And then they will give you two different things that are being compared. So 3/20ths or 16%. Well, it's really challenging for us to look at these two because, yes, we know that this is a fraction. And we know that this is a fraction or a special ratio or a ratio. But they're two totally different types of ratios. They're not written in the same representation. But we can do some math. We can be mathematicians. And we can convert these to make them be in the same format because we have gained those skills. So your job is to decide which format you want to work in. Do you want to be in fractions? Do you want to be in percents? Or do you want to be in decimals? I personally like percentages because then I'm just looking at a whole number, but it's your choice. So decide what you want to convert to and then make some conversions. So I'm going to start by converting 3/20ths. So I have 3/20ths, and I know that in order to make it into a percentage, I have to make a fraction out of 100. So I'm going to multiply by something to get me a denominator over 100. So I know that 20 times 5 gives me 100. And I also know that 3 times 5 gives me 15. So this equals 15%. I now have two percentages that I can compare. I can compare 15% and 16%. So which is greater, 15% or 16%? Well, it is 16%. So 15% is smaller, so it's less than 16%. So in order to compare the two different representations, you are just converting to one format. Now, let's say that I had 79% and 8.8 So my next problem is 79% or 8/100. Which one is greater? Okay, well, you can choose how you want to represent this. I know that 8/100, I can convert this into a percentage, or I can just read it and make it a fraction. So I can make 8/100 into a fraction. Well, and I know that this is hundredths as well. So this one is 79/100. So now I have two of the same representation that I can compare. Which one is greater? Well, I would rather have 79 pennies than 8 pennies. So this one, 79/100, is greater. Now let me draw the box there so you have something to put it into. Okay, here's another example for you. Let's say that I have 17/100 or 42/100. Well, when I look at this, I know that I can convert this really simply and quickly into a decimal. So 17/100 is equal to 17/100, right? Now I have two decimals, and I can convert, or I can compare 1700ths and 4200ths. So 1700ths compared to 4200ths, which one is greater? 4200ths is greater. I would rather have 42 cents than 17 cents. So you can see that you can choose whichever format you want to turn your comparisons into. I showed you a percentage. I showed you how to turn it into either a fraction and compare it that way, or compare it as decimals. Your choice, your preference. And sometimes when you look at these things, you just decide based on what problem is there. All right. Let's do some try-its. So here are your try-its for today. On this topic, 25%. So compare 25% or 7/25ths, which one is greater? And number 2, which one is greater? 4900ths or 94%. Okay, go ahead and hit pause right now so that you don't hear me talking and solving these for you. And then come on back when you are ready. All right. Again, I'm going to do percentages here because for me, that's what I see and that's easiest. So 7/25ths, I know that if I multiply by 4 over 4, I get to 100. And that gives me 28 over 100 or 28%. Okay, now I can compare 25% and 28%. So 25% compared to 28%, and 28% is greater. All right, last one for this topic, 0.4900ths or 94%. Again, in this one, I think I'm going to just convert it to a fraction because I read this as 4900ths. And I know that a percentage is just over 100 automatically. And when I look at these, I look at the top number, 49 and 94, and I know that 49 is less than 94. All right, 6th graders, go ahead right now and answer your first essential question. Oh, no, don't do that because it's not. Well, you can answer about comparing. Sorry. Or just rate your understanding around comparing. So that's all we did right here was comparisons. And now we're going to turn the page and we're going to put them in order from least to greatest. All right, so we're going to be looking at how do we order the percentages. So you'll be given a problem that looks like this. It says to order, and then you're going to get a big long list of things from least to greatest. So let's go ahead and put from least to greatest. All right. So our big old long list of things that we're going to be getting are these numbers. So in our last lesson here, we looked at which was greater and being able to compare percentages and fractions and decimals all at once and choosing which representation we wanted to put them into. In this lesson, we are looking at the essential question of how do we order percents, decimals, and fractions. All right, so the question says order from least to greatest, and that is off my screen. Okay, so ordering from least to greatest, they're going to give you a list of things like 3%, 1/50th, 0.05 or 500ths, 8%, and 25 hundredths. And our job is to go through and compare these things so that we can put them in order from least to greatest. So our first step in our last lesson was to make them all into the same representation. So we're going to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with our starting value. So the starting value that they give us, and then we're going to do some converting. And then this is the equivalent answer. All right, so we're going to go ahead and first look at this first problem, 3%. So I am given 3%. I'm going to decide right now what format I want to work in. Well, I prefer percentages. I said before that I like percentages because it's a whole number, and I like comparing whole numbers. So I'm going to stick with percentages. If you prefer fractions, go to fractions. If you like decimals, go to decimals. So converting, I don't have to do any. So this is none. Because 3% is equivalent to 3%. And so I'm done right there. My next one is 1/50. So I need to convert 1/50. All right, well, I know that 1/50 equals, I have to do some converting to get it over 100. So 50 times 2, so let me change this. 50 times 2 gives me 100. And 2 times 2, or 2 times 1, gives me 2. So the percentage here is 2%. So out here, my equivalent percentage is 2%. 2% is equivalent to 1/50, or 1/50. All right, the next one. So let's go ahead and cross these off as we convert them. 5/100. So I'm going to be converting 5/100. So to convert 5/100, again, I'm just going to put 0.5 is equivalent to 5/100, which is equal to 5%. So my equivalent percentage is 5%. All right, and I can cross that one off. The next one is another cheater one, because look, it's already a percentage. So I don't have any converting, no converting to do, and 8% is equal to 8%. All right, and I crossed that one off. And last, but definitely not least, 25/100. All right, so now I have 25/100. I have to convert this one into a percentage. So 25/100, oops, I didn't change colors. So 25/100 is equal to 25 over 100. And that, since it's over 100, it equals a percentage of 25%. Okay, now I am ready to answer the question of ordering from least to greatest. We had to do a ton of work in order to be able to answer this question. But now we can, because we have all of our equivalent percentages over here in this column that we can use. So here's the things that I am going to be comparing. All right, so the first one in order from smallest to biggest, or least to greatest, is 2. 2 is the smallest. So I'm going to use 2 first. Now, on big ideas or maybe somewhere else, they might want you to put the original format. So when you're listing them, I would say just to put it right underneath. So that way you have it compared like this. All right, and so that one's done. Next smallest is 3%. And 3%, we started with 3%. Our next greatest is 5%. And when we had 5%, we started with 5 hundredths. Next was 8%. And that one we started with 8%. And last but not least, we had 25%. And we started with 25 hundredths. So when we're writing all of these from least to greatest, we're just making a list either of what the ones that we started with, or you can use the ones that you converted with. If Big Ideas marks it wrong, I'll check for whatever you put it in the format. All right, 6th graders, I'm going to turn my page right now so that we can do our try it, and then you'll want to hit pause so that you don't hear me solving. So here we go. All right, so the try it for today. Your try it says 2. Compare and order from least to greatest 3/10, 15%, 2/10, 9 hundredths, and 10%. Okay, go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving this problem for you. And then come back whenever you are ready. So I'm going to start by making my column here, my start, my convert, and my final or equivalent representation. You choose how you want to represent it. Again, I'm sticking with percentages because those are easiest for me to convert to and compare. So 3/10 is equivalent to, I know I need to multiply by 10 to get it to equal 100. 3 times 10 is 30, and so this one is 30%. So my output is 30%. All right, my next one that I have is 15%. And 15% is equal to 15%. I didn't have to do any converting there. All right, cross it off. 0.2 or 2/10 to convert this one. I'm going to take 2/10 and write it exactly as it sounds. 2/10 sounds like 2/10. I'm going to multiply by 10 to equal 100. 2 times 10 is 20, so this one is 20%, and this was none. So my percentage that I'm comparing out to the side is 20%. 0.09 or 9 hundredths. Oops. And I'm also looking at 10% will be my last one. So 0.09 or 9 hundredths is equal to 9 over 100, which equals 9%. I'm going to write none right here since it's already as a percentage. This one, 9%, is being compared over here, and then 10%, none. Oops, that's supposed to be 10. 10%. Now we have to put them all in order from least to greatest. This is our last step. So the smallest number that we have is 9%. And 9% started as 0.9. Our next one that we have, so that one's done. Our next one is 10%. And 10% started as 10%. Next, 15%. 15 comes next when we're counting. So 15% was equivalent to 15% as our starting value. And last but not least, nope, I'm skipping one. That's why I gotta check them off. 20%. All right, so 20% started as 2/10. And now, last but not least, 30%. And that one started as 3/10. All right, 6th graders, how did you do on this? Answer your essential question. How do we compare, or how do we order percents, decimals, and fractions? Like, what's the overall idea here? Go ahead and rate your understanding out to the side. I know that this is a lot of work. I know that it is. But it's like kind of like the big celebration of everything that you've done all put into one. And so when you're answering this question, your essential question, and putting your rating out to the side, please determine what it is that you need to study still. Is it making percentages? Is it making decimals? Is it making fractions? And then head on over to Big Ideas and make it a great day the Cougar way.